Imagine this for a second. It's a normal day. You're with your family, laughing, talking. Everything feels fine. Then suddenly, something happens. Life changes in one moment. Your family is not just dealing with grief, they're also dealing with a $10,000 to $20,000 funeral bill, hospital expenses, maybe debt, and they're looking at each other thinking, now what? Who's going to pay for all of this? That's the exact situation final expense insurance is designed to protect your loved ones from. But the big question is final expense insurance actually worth it, or is it just another clever marketing product? Today, we're going to break this down, honestly, simply, and very clearly, so that by the end of this video, you know exactly whether it makes sense for you or not. My name is Senior Advisor, and if you're someone who cares about your family, your legacy, and wants to make smart decisions about money and insurance, then this video is for you. Before we go too deep, I want to quickly ask you for one small favor. If you're finding topics like this helpful, please take a moment right now to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon. It really helps this information reach more families, and it motivates me to keep making honest, no-nonsense videos like this. And if you've ever worried about being a financial burden on your loved ones, just hit that like button so I know I'm talking to the right people. Now, let's start very simple. What is final expense insurance? Final expense insurance is usually a small whole life insurance policy designed mainly to cover end-of-life costs like funeral, burial, or cremation, and sometimes small debts or medical bills. The coverage amount is usually between $5,000 and $30,000, not like those big million-dollar policies you hear about. The idea is not to make your family rich. The idea is to make sure they're not financially stressed at the worst emotional time of their life. So when people ask, is final expense insurance worth it? What they're really asking is it worth paying monthly premiums now, just so my family doesn't get stuck later? Let's talk about a real lifestyle situation. Think of an average family. Maybe mom or dad is in their late 50s, 60s, 70s, or even older. They don't have a big savings account. Maybe they live month to month on Social Security or a fixed pension. They're not thinking about buying a $500,000 life insurance policy. They just want to make sure that when their time comes, their children don't have to collect money, borrow from relatives, or open a GoFundMe or donation campaign just to pay for funeral expenses. Have you ever seen that? Families posting online asking for help for funeral costs? That happens when there's no planning. Final expense insurance exists mainly to prevent that. Now, here's the honest truth. Final expense insurance is not magic. It has pros and cons. If someone tells you everyone must get it, they're not being honest. And if someone says it's always a waste of money, they're also not being honest. The reality is it's very helpful for some people and not necessary for others. So let's walk through how you can know which group you're in. First, who is final expense insurance usually designed for? It's mainly created for people who are older, maybe 50, 60, 70, or beyond, who don't have a lot of savings and who may not qualify easily for regular life insurance because of health or age. It's also for people who simply want something small and simple. They're not interested in complex financial strategies. They want peace of mind. If that sounds like you or your parents, then listen especially carefully to this part. One of the biggest benefits of final expense insurance is that it's easy to qualify for. Many final expense policies don't require a full medical exam. Sometimes it's just a few health questions. In some cases, even if you have serious health issues, there are guaranteed issue policies that accept almost everyone, though those can be more expensive and may have a waiting period. So if you've been declined for normal life insurance before, final expense might still be an option. That's a big reason why many people consider it worth it. Another important benefit: the premiums are usually fixed. That means the price you pay every month typically doesn't go up over time, and the coverage amount doesn't go down. In a world where almost everything gets more expensive, having a predictable fixed payment can feel very comforting. And because many final expense policies are whole life policies, they usually last for your entire life as long as you keep paying, not just 10 or 20 years like term insurance. So if you're worried about outliving your policy, final expense can be attractive. But let's also talk about the other side. Why do some people feel final expense insurance is not worth it? The main reason is cost versus benefit. If someone is still relatively young, say in their 40s or early 50s, and in decent health, they may be able to get a larger term life or smaller permanent policy at a better price per dollar of coverage. Another thing, if you are disciplined and you save money regularly, you may not need final expense. For example, if someone already has $15,000 to $20,000 saved that they'll never spend and is specifically set aside for funeral and end-of-life costs, then paying for insurance might not be necessary for them. So how do you decide? Let's walk through a simple way to think about it. Imagine your funeral and burial or cremation, plus any small debts, will cost around $10,000 to $15,000. Of course, the exact number depends on your country, city, and type of service, but we're just taking an average. Now ask yourself, if something happened to you this year, do you have that amount sitting in cash somewhere that your family can easily access? Not money locked in property, not I'll sell something, but real available money. If the answer is no, then final expense insurance might be a useful tool. Because the harsh reality is, death doesn't send a warning message with a calendar invite. It just comes. And when it does, bills come with it. If you're still watching this video at this point, I want to say thank you. It tells me you're serious about protecting your loved ones. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is a good moment to do it. And also in the comments, tell me, do you think your family would struggle with funeral costs if something happened to you today? Your answer might help other viewers think about their own situation. And if you think this video could help someone in your family or a friend, please share it with them so they don't stay in confusion. Now, another question people often ask is, isn't final expense insurance just a marketing name? And yes, in many ways, it is a type of small whole life insurance with a friendly name. The industry calls it final expense because it's easier for people to understand the purpose. This is for your final expenses. But that doesn't make it bad. What matters is, what are the features, what are you paying, and what are you getting in return? Let's break down some key points you should look at when you're evaluating a final expense policy. Number 1, coverage amount. How much do you realistically need? If a basic funeral in your area costs, say, $8,000, and you also want a bit extra for small debts or gifts to family, maybe $10,000 to $15,000 is a good target. Some people go higher, some lower, but don't just pick a random number. Think about what you actually want your family to have. Number 2, monthly premium. This is the real question for most people. Can I comfortably afford this payment for the rest of my life? Because remember, if you stop paying, the policy can lapse, and your family may get nothing. So don't let anyone push you into a policy that feels too heavy on your budget. A smaller, affordable policy you can keep is better than a big, unaffordable policy you drop in a few years. Number 3, waiting period and health questions. Some final expense policies offer immediate coverage, meaning if you pass away even a few months after buying, your family gets the full benefit, as long as it was not fraud or certain excluded causes. Others, especially guaranteed issue policies, may have a 2-year waiting period where, if you die from natural causes, they don't pay the full amount, they might just refund your premiums with some interest. So you should always understand, is there a waiting period? When does full coverage start? Number 4, company reputation. You want a company that has a good record of paying claims and has been around for a while. At the end of the day, an insurance policy is just a promise written on paper. You want to be confident the company behind that promise is stable. You don't need the absolutely biggest brand in the world, but you also don't want something shady or unknown just because it's a tiny bit cheaper. Now let's talk emotionally for a moment, because insurance is not just numbers. It's also about feelings, about peace of mind. Many seniors tell me, I don't want my children to argue about money after I'm gone, or I don't want my family to remember me as a financial burden. And I think that is a very powerful and beautiful reason to consider final expense insurance. The value is not just the $10,000 or $15,000. The value is that your family can focus on grieving and remembering you instead of running around collecting money. But let's stay honest. If someone is very young, like 30 or 35, and they're asking, should I get final expense insurance? Probably not. For younger people, other types of insurance usually make more sense, especially term life insurance with higher coverage for income replacement. Final expense insurance really shines for older people, especially those who waited too long to plan and now don't have many other options. Another thing many people misunderstand is this: if I never use it, I wasted my money. You may have heard people say that about insurance in general, but think about it. Do you say that about car insurance if you never have an accident? Do you say that about home insurance if there's never a fire? No. Insurance is one of those things you buy hoping you never need, but if life hits you hard, it can save your family from financial disaster. With final expense, it's a bit different though. Death is guaranteed. The only question is when. So unless you cancel your policy at some point, your family will likely receive the benefit. Let's look at a simple example. Suppose someone is 65 years old and buys a final expense policy with a $10,000 benefit. Let's just imagine, for example, they pay $50 a month. Over 10 years, they would pay 50 times 12 times 10, which is $6,000. If they pass away after those 10 years, their family gets $10,000, which is more than what they paid in. If they live 20 years and pay $12,000 in total, their family still gets $10,000. In that case, it looks like they overpaid. But here's the point. During those 20 years, they had guaranteed coverage. Their family was protected the entire time. Only you can decide if that peace of mind is worth the price. Here's another question to ask yourself. If I don't get final expense insurance, what is my plan? Because doing nothing is also a decision. Maybe your plan is to save a certain amount every month and keep it in a separate savings account for funeral costs. That can work, but it requires discipline and time. If you're already older and you haven't started this savings plan yet, you may not have enough years left to build a big enough fund. Insurance can create money quickly, in the sense that with small monthly payments, you instantly have a large benefit for your family if something happens. If you're still with me right now, I appreciate your attention. This tells me you're serious about making a thoughtful decision. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button and leave a comment telling me your age group, like I'm in my 50s or I'm in my 60s, so I can make future videos more specific and helpful for you. And don't forget to share this video with someone in your family who needs to hear this. A lot of people are too scared or too shy to talk about death and money, but it's a conversation every family needs. Now, I want to answer the main question very directly. Is final expense insurance worth it? Here's my honest, simple breakdown. Final expense insurance is usually worth it if you have little or no savings. You don't want your family to struggle or borrow money for your funeral. You're older or have health issues that make other types of life insurance difficult or too expensive. You value peace of mind, and you know you can afford the monthly premium for the long term. Final expense insurance may not be worth it if you already have enough easily accessible savings dedicated for end-of-life costs. You are younger and in good health and can get a better policy with more coverage for a similar price. You're the type of person who might stop paying the premium after a year or two because you don't like long-term commitments. In that case, it might not make sense to start something you won't continue. In simple words, final expense insurance is not good or bad by itself. It's a tool. Just like a hammer is great for putting a nail in the wall, but useless for cutting paper. Final expense insurance is great for certain people in certain situations. For many seniors with limited savings, it can be one of the most loving gifts they leave behind. A paid-for funeral and a little breathing room for their family. There's one more emotional angle I want you to think about. After a person dies, their family is in shock. They're grieving. They're trying to process what happened. In that moment, even small financial problems can feel 10 times bigger. Imagine your family already crying and hurting. And on top of that, they're worried about where to find $8,000 or $10,000 within a few days. That stress can create arguments, pressure, and long-lasting pain. On the other hand, imagine your family going to the funeral home, already sad but able to say, "The insurance will take care of this." That's a very different experience. Sometimes the value of insurance is not just the money, but the emotional protection. As we move towards the end of this video, I want you to do a quick mental exercise with me. Close your eyes for a moment and picture your family standing at your funeral. Who do you see? Your spouse? Your children? Grandchildren? Maybe siblings or close friends? Now ask yourself, when that day comes, do I want them to be worrying about bills, or do I want them to feel relieved that I planned ahead? Whatever your answer is, that will guide you toward whether final expense insurance is worth it for you personally. If you want more videos like this where we talk honestly about money, insurance, retirement, and protecting your loved ones, make sure you're subscribed to Senior Advisor. Hit the like button so this video reaches more people who need it. And in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Have you or your parents ever considered final expense insurance? Do you think it's a smart move or not? Your opinion might help someone else who's deciding right now. Also, if you know a senior in your life, maybe your parents, grandparents, an uncle or aunt, or even a neighbor, who might not fully understand this topic, please share this video with them. Sometimes one simple conversation or one video can prevent a lot of stress in the future. To wrap it all up in one sentence, final expense insurance is worth it for people who don't have enough savings and don't want to leave a financial burden behind, and it's less necessary for those who are already financially prepared. My goal as your senior advisor is not to scare you, not to sell you anything, but to help you see clearly so you can make the best decision for your situation. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I truly appreciate it. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and I'll see you in the next video. And remember, planning ahead is not about expecting the worst, it's about loving the people who will be left behind.